Seven Footers crew, what is happening? Jarod and Jenna here, guys. The playoffs are just extra sweet today. Does anybody know where I'm going with this?
Look, it's conference finals are here. We are. Remember, Jenna, when the playoffs start, we're like, oh my god, it was like 4 games a night. It's crazy. We're like, we're not going to bed till like 5 a.m.
It's
But
tough.
now we got only one series every night, and it's beautiful. And where you are going is your Los Angeles Lakers. Although let's be honest about this, folks. Jenna is not a Lakers fan. Jenna is a LeBron James fan. So whatever team LeBron goes to, that's who Jenna's rooting for to succeed. But those Los Angeles Lakers, after starting the season 2-10, or whatever dismal record they started with, they are in the conference finals with a shot at going to the NBA finals. It would be LeBron's 11th trip to the NBA finals, going for his potential 5th ring. So let's first applause, kudos, good job on the Lakers.
Now, I thought we were doing like the real.
Oh, yeah, here you go. Yeah, golf clap.
Thank you.
All right. Now, Jenna, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but the reason why the Lakers are going to or in the conference finals is because of the brilliant two-way play of Anthony Davis and the incredible impact of the role players. Yeah. LeBron James, besides that 30-point game against the Warriors, he's not been very good this postseason. If you look at his numbers, not great. Not shooting the ball well, not attacking the rim. And look, what do we expect? He's 38 years old, probably needs surgery on that foot.
You think?
Oh, I trust me. As he said in his media, in his availability after the injury, when they said, "Oh, LeBron, why are you so confident you can come back?" Because I spoke to the LeBron James of feet. Okay. And then he also said in that conversation, if I did need surgery, you guys wouldn't know because I would get it and I wouldn't tell you anything. I'd just come back for training camp and I'd be fine. So he basically said the quiet part out loud, basically like, I probably do need surgery, but I'm going to give you all the satisfaction of telling you that I do. So there's that. But look, Jenna, kudos.
Yeah.
Lakers doing their thing. This is going to be an exciting series when we can get into it.
Heck yes. I mean, to take down the reigning champs is a feat in its own. And of course, a conversation for that dynasty at another time. But yes, props to him. I mean, props, like you said, to the role players. I mean, come on.
Austin Reeves, Roy Hachimura, Lonnie Walker the fourth. I mean, D'Angelo Russell, these guys have been playing well. And, Jenna, they're going to need to continue to play well if the Lakers are going to advance.
And who would have guessed, too? I mean, Austin Reeves, undrafted, two-way contract. Yikes.
Look, Rob Pelinka got a lot of shit for the roster being bad. The roster was always pretty good. You needed Anthony Davis, to play at the level he's playing at. And Jenna, what did I say to you? I said, the only way the Lakers are going to do anything is if Anthony Davis plays like he is the best player in the world. Shock of all shocks. They're in the conference finals. Why? Anthony Davis playing like he's among the best players in the world. Because when he is healthy and right, he is in fact that. As Jason Tatum said, which we'll get to later when we talk about Celtics Heat, after his abysmal shooting for most of Game 6 until he hit the last 4 shots, he said humbly to Cassidy Hubbard, I am one of the greatest players in the world, which, yes, true, factual statement.
Yeah.
Just like Anthony Davis. When he is right, you're not picking 10 guys ahead of him. You're probably not picking 5 guys ahead of him when he's right? And so, but that's the key. If he's not right, as good as the role players are, it's not going to matter. So he's got to be right. The role players got to play well, and LeBron's just got to give them something.
Yeah. And like you just said, when Anthony Davis is playing right, I mean, things are clicking for them, and it's good because when LeBron's not delivering, who else do you have? So you need that, obviously. So the fact that they could operate one without the other at this point is pretty impressive. But again, the Nuggets are a different beast. So let's talk about this matchup now in the conference finals in the West. Lakers, Nuggets, obviously the Joker. I mean, and then you have him and Jamal. They're just so synchronized. It's working for them. It's finally their time. But what do you think about this? I think a lot of people are either weighing like it's going to go tight or it's just going to be not a sweep, but the Nuggets are going to.
Well, the teams are pretty even, actually, Jenna, because this Lakers roster is just different than the one that they were at the beginning of the season, right?
Hmm.
You talked about all the role players playing well, AD healthy, playing like a top 5 player. The Nuggets do have continuity, though, right? Among all the teams that are left, it's them in Boston, right, with the most continuity. You give Miami, throw Miami in there as well with Jimmy and Spo. That Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic pick and roll, it's deadly, man. It is just their 2-man game is tough to stop. And, the key is going to be how Davis guards Jokic and can he stay out of foul trouble? Because if Davis is in foul trouble and they got to go to their backup bigs like Wenyan Gabriel against Nikola Jokic, not good. Not good. So, it's going to be very key how Davis guards Jokic in those minutes. And then for the Nuggets, when Jokic is off the floor, how do they do, right? In the non-Jokic minutes. They did well against the Suns in the non-Jokic minutes. Will they do the same against the Lakers? The Lakers have more depth than the Suns did. The Suns were really 2 players, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Not much else.
Hmm.
So how will that look? We shall see. I think Denver being at home, altitude, first 2 games, I could easily see them winning the first 2 and going up 2-0. And then we'll see what happens when they get back to LA. But I do think, again, it's going to be about how Jokic and AD, how that matchup goes. And then how often can Aaron Gordon, who had a very good series against Kevin Durant defensively, how does Aaron Gordon make LeBron look? If LeBron's looking like 38, old and mortal, that's a plus, right? Now, the mind is still there, all the great passing and all that. But if he's settling for threes and LeBron's shooting like 26% from 3, that's a win, right? That is a win for the defense. So that's what I'm going to be looking at. And then again, how do the role players play? How do they continue to step up? There's a defense turn it into offense and transition for the Lakers. That's big. I'm going to be watching all that for the Lakers. And again, as I mentioned, for Denver, the non-Jokic minutes. And, I think there's an X factor coming up, and we'll talk about X factors in a minute.
Yeah, yeah. Before we get into that, are both teams, like, where are we at with both teams, just for our listeners? Is anybody going into this series with injury, or are we kind of on an even playing field with that? I know we said LeBron with the foot. AD's
Yeah.
kind of like, eh.
Yeah, I mean, look, every team at this stage of the season, Jenna, players are not 100%. Everybody's banged up,
Mm-hmm.
whether they're in the injury report or not. Everybody's got some kind of ailment. The question is, to what level is this ailment they're all dealing with? From what I understand, the Nuggets are mostly fine. LeBron and AD are mostly fine. We do know that Mo Bamba will not be with the team right now. He's back in LA undergoing some more tests. I mean, not like it matters because Darvin Ham wasn't playing him anyway. I mean, here's my thing. Like, you traded for the guy, you didn't even play him. Like, I don't get it, but
Right.
whatever. So from what I know, everyone is seemingly okay. But look, both these teams are one twisted ankle, one hurt player away from
Yep.
the series dynamic changing dramatically.
That's how it goes. Now, X factors. Let's talk about X factors and who are really on each side the key piece to this series.
Jenna, this will be no surprise to you, but for the Nuggets, this is a Michael Porter Jr. series to me. If he is good on both ends of the floor, the Nuggets' chances to me go up exponentially. Like, because he is an answer the Lakers don't have a defender to solve, right? Like, he is a 6'10" scoring machine. And, he's been, a little up and down, and
Yeah.
talked about I was dealing with the personal stuff with his brother, but
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, I'm looking for him to have an opportunity this series where he could really break out. He's got to be aware defensively and engage, and he should be. This is the conference finals now, my guy. There's an opportunity for you to help your team in a mighty way get to an NBA finals. So I'm looking at him on the Nuggets side. And then on the Lakers side, I'm looking at D'Angelo Russell, Dennis Schroeder, right? When the Lakers flip them on and off, one for offense, one for kind of defense, but Schroeder can do both. How do the Lakers sustain those minutes when they are leaning heavily into one versus the other? Both coaches tend to get a little nervous and will play their stars and veterans a little bit longer than they probably should without going to their bench. I mean, the Nuggets have backup center Thomas Bryant, who used to play for the Lakers, who killed the Nuggets in the games that he played when AD wasn't on the floor, and he's barely not getting playing time at all. So I think the benches are going to matter here. Which bench
Yeah.
can both coaches reliably count on?
Yeah. And both benches, They're pretty deep. I mean, I'd say so. I mean, heck, we're
Mhm.
in the conference finals, but still. And it was really interesting at the beginning. You said this is kind of an even matchup. When you think about it, it is. Like you really open my eyes at that.
Mhm.
All right. Prediction time. It is time.
Yeah, I think. Look, I think it goes 6 or 7 for sure. I'm going to give Denver the edge because of their continuity, because of home court advantage, and as good as AD is now, the thing is he's got to be game changer, not just defensively but offensively. If he is that two-way player, because of what he does defensively, that will give them the edge as far as having the best player in the series. But right now, Nikola Jokic is the best player in the series, and I tend to give the advantage to the team with the best player in the series, and that being Jokic.
Yes, you do that. And you obviously know I'm going Lakers in seven.
Obviously,
Come
obviously,
on now. Come on.
obviously.
I will say if LeBron wins this
Listen, it's huge.
and goes say he that happens, he gets another ring,
Mhm.
we're gonna have to have another conversation.
Well, Jenna, you and I texted about this over the weekend, and
I was emotional.
I am not a believer in rings culture and all these
Like,
idiotic conversations that happen on those talking head shows, right? Like
mhm,
I think the discourse around basketball is stupid. Like it just really is. Like this idea that a team postseason success, which is an NBA championship, we like to attribute it to one sole individual is just dumb. This
yeah.
is not a game of 5 individual games of one-on-one. It is a game of 5-on-5. Teams win championships, not individuals. Um, but be that as it may, LeBron, what he's done over his 20-year career is something we have never seen before. Um, you could argue that for any one game, you may want Michael Jordan over LeBron or what have you. Fine.
Right.
You can, whatever. The course of a 20, over the course of an entire career, what LeBron has amassed. Jenna, you know how I feel about Jordan, Kareem, and LeBron. I said they're the
Mm,
only three who can lay claim to that GOAT status because of their decorated careers. LeBron can easily, as can any of them, but LeBron can make a credible case that of the other two, I've had the best career. Yeah, I don't have 6 championships like the other two. I don't have 6 MVPs like Kareem or 5 like Jordan, but 4 and 4 is pretty damn good. 11 finals, right? Like all those things. And the production at this stage of his career. When Kareem was in his 20th season, he was not making all NBA teams. LeBron, all NBA third team, right? Jordan didn't even play 20 years. And if you're going to go to those Wizard years, he wasn't great, right? So it's really what we're seeing. LeBron is for sure, when you look at it in its totality, the best basketball player that's ever played.
yeah, no, incredible point. I couldn't agree more. I have nothing more to say. And that's a great point that not a lot of people bring up in that debate is the longevity and the level and the high level that he's playing. That's all I gotta say. But conversation for another time because we gotta stick to playoff basketball. Let's go to the East.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the Heat and the Celtics. First of all, recap for a second. C's survive barely, I'd say, compared
Yeah.
to what everybody had them in the odds for betting.
Mm-hmm.
And, just thinking they were going to take the title in general, non-betters, I should say. And the Heat, I mean, they took the Knicks. We kind of saw which way that was going. The Knicks choked at the end, per usual, consistent, not off brand whatsoever. So kudos to them for the consistency. Love you guys. But just had to give them the tough love this time. We got to figure it out. I will say, though, outstanding season.
Yeah, great season.
Jalen Brunson.
Jalen Brunson was excellent. They weren't ready, right? They just were not
Yeah,
ready.
they weren't ready for the moment,
They did not outside of Jalen Brunson. They had no one they could reliably count on. Though RJ Barrett played pretty well. They
Right.
didn't, Julius Randle
Great
was not
stuff.
great, and
Yeah.
that's an All NBA player, right? This year, who they needed to play at that level, and he did not in the postseason. He did have the ankle injury that's probably bothering him the whole time. These guys don't like to make
Mhm.
excuses, but it is what it is. And the Sixers, another disappointing season for them. They were up 3-2, Jenna, with Game 6 to clinch it at home, and they were up in Game 6 with Jason Tatum struggling in that game, and
Struggling.
they couldn't close it out, and that is
Struggling.
very disappointing. Really quick, we'll get into Doc Rivers later, but Joel Embiid. Let's start looking at my man's postseason record. They played
Yeah. I think he's out now. Like,
11 playoff series in his career. He's 5-6. Never been past the conference semis. his teams that he's been the best player on. Ben Simmons ain't here anymore, so you can't blame him for that. You just fired Doc Rivers, which again, we'll get to that later. And again, Embiid was dealing with the injuries and all that, but you campaigned hard for this MVP award, which, I probably would still given it to Jokic, but you had a hell of it. You had an MVP worthy season. Yeah. In game 7, with your season on the line, I expected more from Joel and James. It isn't about scoring the most points, Jenna. That's not what it is. Game 7 meanings and I don't mean to make this literal, but your basketball life is on the line in game 7. You lose and you go home. Jason Tatum, from the tip of that game, had the disposition to dominate. He was like, oh no, I don't give a fuck. Well, I'm doing whatever to win this game. Yeah. I did not sense that same level of urgency from Joel or James Harden, and especially Joel. So that was very disappointing. Yeah. But, it is what it is.
Yeah. Last note on that, though, too. Your stars failed you. So next season is going to be the season for Joel Embiid to really look himself in the mirror because, and again, I'm not trying to shit on him. Congrats. You had an MVP season. But, all right, that conversation's out the window. We took care of the MVP now. We've been trying for years. Finally. Thank you, Jesus. Now, if you don't get past the conference semis, it's time to be hey, what's up? What's going on? Your stars failed you. No one else failed you but your stars. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
But Jason Tatum sits going 0 for 10 in the first half. Mm-hmm. He gives you the majority of the game to get a lead, and then you lose by that much. They lost by a significant chunk of points.
That game was over in the third quarter, Jenna. When Tatum went on that 3-point barrage, the Sixers just dropped the rope. They just all right, we're not winning it. And to me, again, as I said, individuals do not win, teams win. However, leaders of teams, individuals inspire their teams to fight and play hard. Yeah. Joel, as the best player, is supposed to be the leader and inspire that fight. Yeah. He did not. So if he ain't fighting, what do you expect the rest of the guys to do?
Yeah. I was slightly disappointed in his post-game presser.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Just kind of not making a joke out of it, but also quoting Giannis and stuff like that. No, you just got the MVP. You are the MVP of the league. This is your moment to step up to that pedestal and give us an MVP answer.
No doubt. And he didn't do it.
And again, we don't need to harp on this series, but the last note, we didn't say nothing about your boy.
Who?
The ISO King.
James Harden. Look, so here's the thing about Harden.
Who didn't show up.
Harden played well in 3 games this series.
He did win them those games.
And in those 3 games, the Sixers won.
Yep.
I mean, he is no longer the player he once was, winning MVPs in Houston. That's just not his game anymore. On occasion, he can reach back into the fountain, as he showed.
Right, yeah.
And I said, when he does that, the Sixers have to win those games. They did. Okay. What you would have liked to see was him to be a little bit more balanced. So in game 6, when they won, at game 5, he was pretty balanced in that game. It wasn't a 40-point game, but he was balanced. It was 19 points, 13 assists. Yeah. He got to the line a bunch, made threes. That if he had done that again in game 6 with a big Embiid game, they likely close it out, but they didn't do it. So it is what it is.
It is what it is. Let's move on because we got to talk about now this matchup with the Heat and the Celtics. This is going to get chippy. I mean, anything gets chippy with the Heat. What are we talking about? But true. Still, I mean, let's talk about this. What are the keys to this series for both teams?
So for Boston, I'm looking for them to, can you play to your level and potential? Boston, if you're looking at this matchup just on paper and look at rosters, this should not be a contest. Boston should win this pretty handily.
Right.
But Eric Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, that Heat culture, are very good. And the Celtics are also capable of playing shitty, right? That's just, they are known to do that at times. But the key for me for Boston is, again, play to your strengths. Tatum and Brown, the relentless two-way alpha predator wings that they are. You only got Jimmy Butler. You don't have Jimmy Butler and somebody else. He can't guard them both. You can only guard one. So whoever he's guarding, the other one's got to be going off, scoring, playmaking, etc. For the Heat, Jimmy, Spo, can you do enough defensively? Can you make enough threes? Look, the Heat were a bottom 3 3-point shooting team in the regular season. All of a sudden in the postseason, they're shooting lights out. Does that come back to earth and be actually who they are? If they continue to shoot hot from three, that's the rest. When you are the underdog, which the Heat are, you have to do things outside of your nature and character to pull off the upset. Well, the Heat have been shooting well from three. If they got a couple of games in this series where they make 23s, well, they're going to probably win those games, right? So I'm looking at what the Heat do. And Bam Adebayo, again, with Horford and Rob Williams are throwing at him, it's going to be tough, right? And look, Joel Embiid had a tough time, right? And he's the MVP.
The Time Lord is tough.
It's going to be a tough series for Bam, offensively especially. What can he do defensively to help the team, particularly on the glass, extending possessions on offensive rebounds, etc.?
Yeah. Let's talk about X factors and guys that are specific to each team. Who's the X factor on each team to get the series done? I'm just gonna say really quick, for the Heat, it's gonna be Bam.
I mean, yeah, like we just said, Bam's got to be special. For the Heat, what I'm looking at is Gabe Vincent and Kyle Lowry. Can Gabe and Kyle? Because first of all, Kyle is the plus minus god, and is just he's such a smart veteran player.
Oh,
He understands
basketball mind.
Oh my god, he understands
IQ.
defense angles. He knows how to strip the ball clean without fouling. Like the key for any team, really, defend without fouling. And the Heat do that as well as anybody. I can see a game where Vincent, because he can get up under people, and Kyle, because he can get up under people, where they bother Tatum and Brown. Brown especially with that weak handle. And I can see a lot of turnovers. And again, that's a game the Heat win. So I'm looking for that. What can their perimeter defenders do against those apex predator wings? On the Celtics side, look, it's really, can Jason be all NBA first team Jason Tatum? If he was the guy that we saw in Game 7 against the Sixers for the majority of this series, they're going to win. Because as much as Jimmy can bother him, Jason, as he humbly said, I'm one of the best players in the world, which he is. So if he's playing like that, Horford and Rob locking up the paint, Marcus Smart getting up under Jaylen Brown, I'm sorry, getting
not
up
fouling.
Under Jimmy Butler, not fouling, right? Like all these things, like they're just better, right? Top to bottom, they have more. Malcolm Brogdon off the bench, like they're just a better squad. But Eric Spoelstra will find a way to scheme up a win. Jimmy Butler's going to do Jimmy Butler things, right? So I don't expect this to be some cakewalk. And again, as we said at the top, Miami will play this physical. They're going to get it, grind it out in the mud. And, if the referees allow the game to get physical, it's going to be a battle.
Jimmy's probably shirtless somewhere right now, like creating like scenarios in his head that don't even exist.
No doubt. That's Jimmy Butler. That is Jimmy Butler.
Coaching, from the coaching side, we know Spo is Spo, but talk to me about Joey over here. Joe.
So it's interesting. Yeah, Missoula, his first time in this scenario, but after the win against the Sixers, some really interesting things coming out about like him telling Jason Tatum, I love you, man. Like all these different things, and like the connection he's developing with his guys. Look, Spo is a better tactician, X and O, but he's doing some stuff. Joe Missoula is doing some things. I will say, Spo is going to have some wrinkles and different things that he does, but look, that roster is limited. You don't have Tyler Hero, who I don't think is going to be back this series. There was some talk. They're not sure. Probably not till they get to the finals, if they make it that far. But look what Spo's done with Jimmy, Bam, and a bunch of undrafted guys and the corpse of Kevin Love. They found a way to get to the conference finals, right? So expect them to do some things. And again, as I said, this will not be a cakewalk series.
Absolutely not. Also, last note on Spo, why on earth was I perplexed by a stat that I saw, or a non-stat, that he's never won Coach of the Year? Don't do that.
Well, it's wild, right? Because early on, when they were winning titles, the idea was, well, it's because of LeBron James, nothing to do with Spoelstra, right? And then now, since not having LeBron, they've been excellent. Look, Spo's for sure. I mean, you're looking at Spo, Ty Lue. I mean, you're looking, those are Steve Kerr. These are really the best coaches in the league right now, right? Like, and Spo's got to get his credit. The problem is that the Heat don't win enough regular season games, and that's how the award's based, right? You got to win a bunch of regular season games. Although, there have been opportunities where they should have, Spo should have been someone that was honored. But either way, he's not someone I don't think needs that kind of validation. He and the Heat organization know how good he is.
Heck yes. I just want to be part of it for a day. That's all. All right. Let's talk about some more sad things because
Predictions, really
oh,
quick.
I'm sorry. I
I'm
already had
gonna
the Heat going in
say
7.
Celtics in 6, but again, I can
Okay.
see this going 7 easily. And if it's a game 7, toss up. Anybody can win.
I'm going Heat in 7 because I love a good underdog.
You do.
And I just love me some South Beach. Um, you could tell I need a vacation, but let's talk about the fallout from the
Mm,
conference semifinals
mhm,
losses.
mhm.
The two biggest fires heard around the NBA: the Suns fired Monty Williams, the Sixers fired Doc Rivers. Kind of saw obviously Rivers coming, Monty, I guess too, but let's stay in the West, or let's stay in the East and talk about Doc.
Um, Look, this was the worst kept secret in the NBA, right? Like,
Yeah.
if the Sixers did not advance to at least the conference finals, the talk rumors had always been that Doc was likely on his way out.
Yeah.
You know, and reports that people that I've spoken to and stuff I've heard out of Philly, Doc, his voice wasn't being heard in the locker room. And once you get to that point, it's really over because they're not listening to you. So it doesn't matter what you're saying; they've
Mhm.
tuned you out. And that's the thing about coaches. And the reality is that as fans, you don't really see all the value a coach brings.
Mhm.
X's and O's is one piece of it.
Yeah.
You are a tactician, X's and O's person. You are a therapist. You are a motivator. You are a salesman. You are a counselor. I mean, you have to massage egos and listen to problems, build relations. I mean, you have to do a lot, wear a lot of hats,
Yeah.
and you have to constantly be selling your message to people that want to buy it. And if they're no longer buying, then you're just talking and ain't nobody paying attention. And that's the level that's the point they got to with Rivers, that he was talking, but they weren't listening.
Mhm.
And once that happens, it's over. You know, Daryl, the names you're gonna hear are Monty Williams, Sam Cassell, who was Doc's assistant, Nick Nurse, etc. The only name you guys should pay attention to is Mike D'Antoni. Um,
I heard this today. Tell me why.
um,
I mean, I know why.
Daryl's success the greatest success he's had as a GM in Houston were those 4 years with D'Antoni, when they were 212 and like 100 and something, right? They won a bunch of games, went to the playoffs 4 years in a row, were a Chris Paul hamstring away from beating the vaunted KD Golden State Warriors and getting to the NBA Finals, right? His coaching style is one that meshes with Daryl's analytical belief in the way the game of basketball should be played. Um, you know, so watch out for that name. And Mike is someone who clearly knows how to work with James if James sticks around. But
I
if
was
they
gonna
hire
say,
if
yeah.
they hire D'Antoni, expect James to stay. And he is someone who can likely get through to Embiid, and knows how to manage egos and stars, right? So that's
Mm.
a name I'm looking at. But again, expect they'll interview Sam Cassell. They might interview Monty Williams. Nick Nurse might get a look as well. But D'Antoni is the name that I'm watching.
All right, all right. Speaking of Monty, let's talk
Mm.
about this real quick. Monty Williams out in Phoenix after that just ousting.
To get 2 seasons in a row, Jenna, that the Phoenix Suns in a game 7
Mm.
on their, well, no, this was in Denver, or this was game 6, not in game 7
Mhm.
this year. But either way, in a closeout game on their home floor where they laid an egg. They were just bad. And again, the question is, this is more of a new owner thing, right? Matt Ishbia, new owner. New owners love to put their imprints and fingerprints on everything when they take over and buy a team, right?
Yeah.
He was the one that everyone knows that pushed the team to make the Kevin Durant trade. Okay, they did. In that, they gave up a lot of their depth, right? With Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges and all of their draft picks. So they don't have a whole lot to work with going forward. DeAndre Ayton did not play well. And remember, Jenna, we talked about this last year, that DeAndre Monty relationship, while it seemed like on the surface this year things were okay, it doesn't seem like it ever resolved itself. That is
No.
possibly a thing. Look, again, it's going to come down to, can the Suns find somebody who is going to implement a system on both ends of the court that KD, Book, and Ayton, for as long as he's here, if they don't trade him or whoever else they bring in, is going to buy in and be willing to play. That is part of the job in the NBA. Can you get your best players to buy in? If they're not bought in, I don't care what the hell you're saying. It's not happening. Who that person is, I have no idea. I will say that the rumors leaking right now is that their preferred option is Ty Lue.
I heard that.
Ty Lue still has years left on his contract in LA, I believe. We'll see what works there.
Interesting stuff. All right. Well, that is it, guys. I mean, we are getting down to the wire here, but we have the conference finals. Lakers on Tuesday, May 16th, the day we're recording. And stick with us because not too much longer here. Finals begin on June 1st.
Absolutely. And tonight is the NBA draft lottery. We get to find out the order for the upcoming June draft. I mean, the number everybody cares about is number 1. Who is going to get 1 and select French teenage sensation Victor Wembanyama? We shall see. My 2 cents is I don't want him to go to any of those dumpster fire organizations like Charlotte, Houston, Detroit. Please, I hope he goes to San Antonio.
Wouldn't he play well with Powell? Mankato?
In Orlando?
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of good young guys down there.
For sure. I'm not sure Orlando is a great organization.
Right.
That's, listen, most of these teams, Jenna, they got problems, right? They're just not well run. And I think Victor can be special, but I want a team to proper and how they develop him, how it comes along, because he could really be a game changer. But we shall see.
That's it. That is it. Tell them where they can find us, Jarod.
As always, you know where to find us: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, SoundCloud, at 7footers Pod on Twitter, at 7footers Podcast on Instagram, or no, the other way around, at JS Hector, at Gentleman Selly. And until next time, everybody, peace.
Spent a couple years out here with these raps, trying to have a plan that we made come true. Applied to some jobs, but I ain't here back.